So how's everybody doing? Good? You find anything cool? This is going to be a long panel. And by definition, I am not a panel. You know, you got to have at least 3 other people or 2 other people to be a panel. So it's a force of 1 today. Sorry about that. Yeah, you're going to come up here with a panel? How do you panel? That pine panel Columbus room when I was a kid. Everybody had one of those 50s. So you could go down there and just try to sneak or listen to your parents' records. They had these party records back then that had dirty jokes on them. Yeah, I was like 8. Literal education. So I guess since I came in and this is supposed to be a couple of hours, I'll keep blabbing until you feel like asking questions. Is there going to be a lot of questions? Anybody think of it? Yeah? Okay. Just all right, cool. Well, let's see. Oh, by the way, did you sign a petition for Futurama? No? Write your congressman. You got to get it back on TV.
Yeah!
I'm telling you. It's online, the petition. Yeah, because this is the last season they're going to show on Comedy Central. And it's starting this month, the premiere of it. And I think, this is my own opinion, I think it's the best show, best series of shows that we ever did. Just like poured it in. This one coming up. A couple of spoilers, I think. There's another tearjerker coming. Yeah, and you're gonna go, you know, it's gonna get you. It got me. When I was recording it, I was like, this is like too sad beyond belief. You can't do this to people. Gotta give them something they're gonna talk about forever in case we can come back. And, pardon me? I don't think it's the final episode. I think it's probably, you know, mixed in there somewhere. There's a musical number, a couple of them, I think. And I think Zoidberg gets to sing one. You didn't know I was quite a singer. I guess I should do them. I'll work backwards. On Futurama, I know it's an anime convention. I feel like a square peg. I'm out there and there's like, you can see, God forgive me, the characters I never heard of in my life. You just gotta be cool. You gotta know who they are. I'll find out. I did anime once. Me and Frank Welker, who's the Mac Daddy, did voices for this new show. It wasn't even released yet, and they didn't know what they were doing. It was Pokemon. Yeah, we did some stuff, and then they decided they were going to go with, you know, sort of like little murmurs and whimpers and little squeaks and pops. And so there went that giant franchise. That's okay. Frank had a terrible accident recently. He fell off his wallet. And it's so funny because voice guys are so animated in real life, and they're always like working on each other in a room, like an audition room. We're all like, and Frank just sits there and smiles. We're like the wicked swan of his loin. He's just sitting there smiling, and he's like thinking in his head, I have my own jet. and the oxygen's leaving the room because of lots. But let's see. Yeah, well, Philip J. Fry was named after the late Phil Hartman. And it was so sad because I knew Phil Hartman. He called me one time when I still lived in New York. This was in like 94. And he called me from the set of News Radio. And what happened was my wife got the call at the time. And I was heading home from the Stern Show where I was doing the devil's work on a daily basis. And, hey Robin, I just farted. There's the show, the unabridged version. No, I loved it. I had one was so much fun. But he called me, Phil, and my wife got it. She said, some guy called here. He said he was Phil Hartman, and I had no way of knowing because you have so many friends that could pull an elaborate joke like that. You know, it could be Maurice LaMarche, you know, anybody, Jess Harnell. And so I get home and I call back the number, and he says, I just called you to say I love your work. I just absolutely love your work. And I said, well, I kind of know who you are too, you know? Because he was like, to me, he was a big deal on Saturday Night Live. He was a killer. He was so damn good, funny, and quick. And they were planning on using him for Zach Brannigan. So Philip J. Fry was named after Fry, but he wasn't going to sound like Phil Hartman. I mean, I just used, in my opinion, what I sounded like when I was 25 or 23 years old, which was whiny, mostly, and you know, complaining all the time. They broke a string. You know, I was in a band, and they used to drive everybody nutty with my whining because I had this non-voice. It was so plain vanilla, like, you know, don't tell me we're going to stop again. I thought we were going to go there, you know. No wonder they all hated me. But I could play really good, though. I was really good musician. And I lived in those band days till they took my spandex license away in 1978. I started playing, my first band was in 1966, so that's like the dark ages, you know, forget it. If you carried a guitar case, people on buses would be screaming at you, inviting you to parties. It was that weird, like, you had the case, no guitar in it, just faking them out. And so that was what happened with Fry when I auditioned for him. I didn't get him originally. It was Charlie Schlatter was going to do Fry, and Nicole Sullivan from Mad TV was going to do Leela. And then we recorded it, and they decided they weren't going to go with a couple of people. And so I auditioned for Zoidberg and the Professor. I also auditioned for Bender. I just made him sound like a construction worker, you know. But John DiMaggio had the greatest take, and no wonder he got it because he totally nailed his character. You know, like a punch-drunk fighter. You know, in all those old movies, you know, oh, where's the shot at the champ? I don't want a shot at the champ. You are the champ. Ah, you know, just that kind of portrayal. And it was so great to get a couple parts, but I wound up getting Fry as well. And I went from being like, you know, second or third banana on the show to being the star of the show. And I was honored, and it was Katie Seagal I got for Leela. And I said to her one day, a bunch of years ago, I said, it just dawned on me that Katie has never not been a star. It's so weird. And I feel really close to her because she has a band. She sings. She's real good. And I went to go see her band, and I was like, damn, Katie, I'm so jealous. I want to play with you. Can you get rid of those guys? I want to, just you and me up there, you know? But that probably closed after a night. No, we're going to do it. We're going to do it one of these days. But yeah, Phil Fry had like barely a grasp of like old sayings, you know. I'll be whatever I want to do. You know, just stuff like that. He got jumbled, you know, saying, hey Fry, I heard beer makes you stupid. And he's like, no, it doesn't. And it was so delightful to say those things. I thought no, it doesn't was a typo or whatever. I swear to God, David X. Cohen was sitting there, and I said, David, you know, trying to pretend like I knew something. And I said, is this a typo? Which one? And I said, this, no, it doesn't. No, please read it as written. And I said, okay. I'll take the $821 pickup session fee, you know, like to come back and fix it. I was so sure. I was like, nah, this is gotta be wrong. And then when I saw it on TV, I got it and I went, ah! It hit me. What the hell? And it sounded so stupid that it's so believable because I didn't know what I was saying. You should do all the characters like that. And the Professor was just this collection of old magicians and doddering wizards. And he's 147 years old. And, you know, he's skin wrapped around bone, and he looked like airplane food to me. You know, like, And 147, so he would shake, and I've done it behind the microphone. You know, nobody cares what you do with your hands in the dark blue. Yeah, Honey Nut Cheerios too. I cheated. I went,
Honey Nut Cheerios, it's irresistible.
you know, they said, how you doing that? I said, you know, just something with my hands. But then Tom Kenny was doing this for SpongeBob later on, and I absolutely love all the voice guys. I hold them in the highest esteem. And the women that do it. It's just so great to be in that company. You know, because I was always like this weird kid who had to hide his talent in the town I grew up in. You had to hide it like an appendix scar because there's a lot of people that hate you that you could do anything like that. It looked like magic to me. And so I just thought, well, I'm being treated like, oh, everybody can do this. I thought it was a parlor trick. And then I get out of that town and I find out that I would get on the microphone and I'd be playing out at gigs and stuff, and I start doing voices. People more interested in that than the music, you know. And I would be like getting into Futurama. Dr. Zoidberg, they showed me pictures of all these characters. He had all this cool meat hanging off his face, you know. So I figured he'd be impaired a little bit, and I'd have like, and I loved actors from old Yiddish theater. I loved the old vaudeville guy, George Jessel, you know. He would say, you know the definition of a smartass? A fellow who can sit on a snow cone and tell you what flavor it is. I mean, he used to say stuff like that. And then there was Lou Jacoby, who was, you've seen him in commercials, and he was in the movie Arthur, the original one where he was, I think he was a neighbor or something, and he leans into Arthur and goes, what's it like to have all that money? And I just thought the two of them would be a beautiful cold fusion, a super collide them. That's how I come up with a lot of voices. You grab somebody from one part of showbiz periphery even, and then fuse it with the energy of another. You can go all over the place. You know, people ask me like, how do you come up with an original voice? I said, even a bad impression of somebody is a voice no one's ever heard before. You know what I mean? It's like, if you stick to it and you really believe in it, and you don't think of it as sucky, you think of it as new. You know, here's one you never heard. You can get hired for certain characters. I wouldn't advise that all the time, because there's a lot of study and work that goes into it. But Zoidberg was like, you know, why not Zoidberg? Young lady, bring the sandwiches from the dumpster and leave the nuggets on it. Or he would go, that's all from the Three Stooges, that stuff. Lacking. I'm struggling. This is such a cool character. No one could figure out what his angle was, but the thing that cracked me up the most about him is that they said he's a doctor, but he's poor. I don't know why, I found that hellaciously funny when I first heard the description. And, yeah, the professor, you know, I told you he was like a bag of bones, and he probably farted dust, and, you know, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And then I was considered to replace Phil Hartman because he was taken out. And he and I talked a lot when I got to know him. He invited me, he says, I hope you're going to move to California one of these days, because there's so much going on for a guy like you. And he was so generous, you know. There's not a lot of people that will call you up and say, there's a lot more work for you out here, because I was living in New York. And sure enough, I wound up out there and we were doing a commercial together. I did an M&M's commercial where I played the red M&M, and he played this guy at the pool, like a lifeguard named Chucky Barr. You know, and he was like trying to pick up girls and everything, but he melted in the sun and I didn't, so he lost. And then Tia Carrera took a bite out of my head. Lucky me. And that voice, you know, we talked about our love of big dumb announcers, because I was in radio for a long time. I got into all the big dumb announcers were on their way out. You know, people that just talked action, deliberately. Domes pills, everybody. You know, buy them today. And it's like, this guy can't be real. He went to school so he could like talk at you instead of like with you, or try to identify some common thread that he might have with your audience. And I said, these guys are a drag, but they're funny as hell. And I could do all the big dumb announcers, you know, it's like, yeah, this is Johnny Bannon with Human Cannon saying what's in you is gonna come out, and that's what rock and roll is all about. But before he gets slap, Mr. Roy Orbison, 1959. You know. And those guys just were so ridiculous. They love the sound of their own voice more than anything. That's what I discern in composers. They like carrying their balls in a wheelbarrow, listening to their own resonance. You know, they would deliberate on words because they love the vibe. You know, the minute they spread their vibration out when they talk, they went, coming to the Worcester Central, you know, a hamburger helper of words, just kind of, and that's what I love about Zap Brannigan. You know, that I took that element and stuck it on him, and he'd be like, kid, but look a minute, I made it with a woman. She's a beautiful ship, all right. I'm gonna fly her brains out. And you know, he's just such a great character. He's so stupid, which I love. I think he's stupider than Fry, but I don't think of Fry as stupid. I think he's pure of heart, and Zap isn't. You know, Zap's got like a heart soul for a heart or something. You know, but he was kind of a sleazeball, but there he survived all the attacks on the Duke headquarters and all that. And Mr. President, what the hell? Reporting for duty. Oh, and I did Nixon, you know, in these episodes, you know, where he's just like, get those suckers off my lawn. I have to tell you why I did that. They always say, you know, why did you make him like growl like a dog or something? And I said, because I watched the debates between Richard M. Nixon and John F. Kennedy. I saw it on TV in 1960. And this was, the television was now going to decide who was going to be president, not radio. You saw who you were looking at. And Kennedy looked like, you know, a game show host. He had that buttered toast hair and that big smile, you know, ultra bright. And Nixon, on the other hand, was sweating. His hair was matted. He looked nervous, and his 5 o'clock shadow was coming in. Every time they cut back to him, I swear it got darker. It was like devolving. Becoming, you know, Cro-Mag or something. So when he talked, he was trying to be sincere, but it just didn't look that way because he was a mess. And he was like, well, I was sorry my fellow Americans. You know, and I said to my mom, I said, Mom, he's going to turn into a werewolf. He's going to turn into a werewolf. I swear. And so I thought of him in that moment, and I thought, what if he just went, and I hope you vote for me. That's why he has that, now you know. What is that all about? David Cohen loved that so much, and then all the writers loved it, and they kept writing more stuff. You know, oh, the great person of Charleston, too. That bastard, I got my revenge because he drafted me in 1970, that bastard. And I got the ultimate revenge because all my Nixon clips that I did for Futurama were playing in the Nixon library. You can't do that because he's a head in a jar, but I think they stuck the vice president to him one time, and the vice president was walking around. That's all Cheney ever said, Dick Cheney. Oh boy, Vietnam, I'll show you someday. I wonder, I guess they don't care, they just took all things Nixon. You know, from anywhere they put all the impressionists back in the 60s, freshman camp. And it was just fun to do. They all made fun of him, but I thought I gotta go another degree. I gotta take this to a higher level. So I dogged him out, wolfed him out. Let's see, I think there's other stuff that I've done along the way on Futurama, a lot of peripheral characters that would just kind of show up. And it's always fun to watch everybody else in that room because I swear it's like going to school sometimes. You know, some people, you walk in the room and somebody's firing on 8 cylinders. And I go, man, I'm going to be on my toes today. I really do, because I learn from other people and I watch other people and they're like, oh, get out, you know, and I said, no, I'm serious. You know, I don't have any sense of entitlement, and I just love showing up for work. I'm glad they asked me, and I'll keep coming in until they tell me don't come in anymore, like, you know, the people that had immigrant mentality when they first moved to this country. 18 hours a day? No problem, I'll work. I was really built